5 years ago, I was headed to the casino, and the plan was to go to the casino Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then go to the poker club in Kanawaki on Sunday. So I got to the casino on Thursday, and I was having a session. I was running whatever, I guess I was probably up a little or something. And then I got in this interesting hand where I had King 10 of clubs, and the flop came King 10-3 rainbow with the 3 of clubs. I bet we were three-way, one guy called. Turn came the 6 of clubs. So now the board's King 10-3 6 with 3 6 of clubs on board. And I have King 10 of clubs in my hand. So I bet again pretty big, and the guy called me again. So, at the turn I have top 2 pair and a flush draw, and the, flush draw. It's a pretty crazy hand to have. The river came in offsuit ace, which is actually a pretty shitty river when you think about it. And I was out of position, and I just thought it was gonna be tough to get value. So I guess I'm gonna go for a check call. I mean, Queen Jack gets there though, right? Because it was King 10-3 on the flop, 6 with 2 clubs, but it's kind of a frustrating spot. So I check, and this guy who's pretty conservative player bet 400 on the river. And I think in that spot, it was a pretty easy fold, in retrospect. I mean, I don't think he's bluffing there, and it's just like a frustrating spot because I had a great hand on the turn, right? And he didn't 3-bet me either pre-flop. I mean, I guess there's a lot of hands he could have. He could have, bottom set on the flop. He could have had, whatever, like I said, a straight, I thought was most likely, or maybe even hands like ace 10, whatever. So anyway, so I call, a little frustrated call, and he flips over ace king off. So he literally hit that 2 outer on the river to beat me, and I was pretty frustrated because if the ace of clubs came, it had the nuts, right? So he had ace king off without the ace of clubs in his hand, so he only had 2 aces to hit on that river. So I was frustrated, and my immediate reaction was to throw the cards at the dealer, which is pretty bad of me. Also, not only that, I thought too it was kind of like a coward move, because I know there's there's one dealer at the casino who I can pretty confidently say can beat me up. And I feel like if he was the dealer, I don't think I would have thrown the cards, right? So I kind of think maybe one of the reasons I threw the card at that guy was because it was the one guy who couldn't, it wasn't the one guy who could beat me up, it was just any other guy, right? But at the same time, I can confidently say that if it was a woman, a female dealer, I wouldn't have thrown the cards at her, right? So at least because I know I have a lot of respect for women, so I know I definitely wouldn't have thrown the cards if it was a female dealer. So whatever, because it was, a male dealer and not the one dealer that could beat me up, I threw the cards at him, which is pretty bad. Whatever, I mean, he looked mad at me for a second. I mean, I guess people were kind of thought it was poor of me, but everyone's, I flipped my hand too as I got bad beat to show what I got bad beat with before throwing the card. I flipped the hand, picked them up, threw them at the dealer. But yeah, obviously I shouldn't have done that. Whatever, so then later that session, I got up, went to the washroom. On the way back from the washroom, I got stopped at Pit Boss, and he said to me, Sean, you threw your cards at the dealer? And, I explained to him the hand. He's like, look, you've been a pro a long time. What are you doing? I'm sure you've been 2 outer before. It's really, don't do that again. It's really inappropriate. We should kick you out for that. I'm like, all right, I'm sorry. It won't happen again, Felt kind of bad and whatever. It was frustrating hand. Anyways, the session finished. I finished up a few hundred and I went home. Next day, I came back to the casino, Friday. And I was having a session where I was doing pretty well. I was running well. I was up around $1,100, and it was Friday night, and I was feeling good, playing well. And then this player came to my table, sat directly to my right, and I remember this player from the poker club in Kanawaki. I remember seeing him have a hand where I think it was under the gun raised, and he called from under the gun +1. And they ended up going to the river, and he ended up having 2-3 suited, and I think he bad beat the guy who was under the gun who had aces. And he won a big pot, and I guess he was pretty happy to show that he had 2-3 suited. But I'm just sitting there, oh man, this guy really under the gun raised, and this guy's calling from under the gun +1 with 2-3 suited. Kind of gives you the idea of what kind of player this is, right? I mean, the kind of player that likes to whatever needle people or crack people's big hands with hands 2-3 suited, right? So anyways, so we're playing, and then a hand comes up where there's 4 limpers. That player, the 2-3 suited guy, limps his button, and I'm at the small, and I have ace king off. So I raise it up to 50, which is pretty big. It's a 2-5 game. I mean, I'm kind of at this point in my head, I'm thinking, I'm trying to just steal the pot essentially, right? And there's $30 out there. I'm trying to take the $30. I'm putting out 50 to get it. But I also have ace king off, and I'm small blind, so I'm out of position if anyone calls. But like, you know, so it's almost like, I mean, I guess I'm hoping to get hands like, you know, 4s and 5s to fold, right? So it's kind of like a semi bluff if you think of it that way. But whatever, I'm hoping to steal the blinds. If someone calls, I have ace king. It's not the end of the deal. And look, guys might be calling me with, you know, ace queen, right, or ace 10 suited or whatever it is. So it's a good spot to be in. So everyone folds, but the guy in the button, that 2-3 suited guy, and then he calls. It's like, I remember this guy. No, I kind of get what he's like. You know, he figures he has like implied odds. I was thinking he's probably putting me on like aces or kings and thinks he can like crack me and win a huge pot. We're 1K deep. I mean, you know, I bought him for 1K. I'm at 2,100 at this point. I guess he just shut up at 1K. So he put in 50 pre. So the pot's 100, and the flop comes 10-7-2 rainbow. I c-bet 50, and he calls. So at this point, there's a bunch of hands I think he has. I mean, I'm pretty much just giving up. I was hoping to take it down that flop. I was hoping, you know, whatever just missed. And I mean, whatever. I mean, I could still hit my ace or my king, but essentially I just bet the flop again. And I called. I'm like, damn it. So I just gave up. Whatever. I figured I'm losing $100 on my ace king off. Turn comes a 10 to pair the board. So I'm thinking, oh, there's probably a good chance he has trip 10s or something. I check. He checks back. River comes a 4. So now I'm thinking, all right, it was 10-7-2, 10-4. You know, maybe he has a hand like 8-9 or 8-jack or 9-jack, so it could be good. So I check the river again, and now he bets 200, which is about a pot-sized bet. At this point, I didn't think he was bluffing. I thought he had it for sure. I figured he just checked back the turn with a 10, so he probably has some hand like, you know, 10-9 suited or whatever. Or who knows, right? I just figured he's not bluffing. I figured he has a 10. And then I figured I was also repping hands like, you know, kings, aces, queens, jacks. I mean, yeah, maybe I'm going to hear him call with a hand like ace king there, but I wouldn't in that situation. But I guess I was just thinking like, all right, I'm really sure this guy has a 10. I'm going to kind of like take my time before folding to just make it seem like I'm making an impressive laydown. Like I have a hand like kings, and I like, you know, really read him for a 10 and was able to make the big laydown and show that, like, you know, even though he called 50 on the flop on 10-7-2, he essentially just put money in bad, and once he got that 10, he got no more, right? Because the turn went check when the 10 came, and the river I'm going to check fold. So I'm tanking, getting ready to fold, and then he says to me, would you like to see one of my cards? So I'm like, oh, this guy's like being such a jerk. Like, yeah, I'm about to fold. He can't just like let me fold. You know, he's like, I was like essentially talking trash. So I'm like, sure, you can show me one of your cards. So I guess while I was looking to fold before and like, you know, just kind of taking my time, he had taken his cards when I wasn't looking. And so you know how you have your two cards like this? He took his cards and he put them like this. So now it's like face down either way you go. So he picks up his cards that are like this now and goes like this, and shows like as if he was going to show me what's underneath, and he just shows that, you know? So I just look kind of pissed as he does that. And he's like sleight of hand, like all proud of himself, you know? Just like, geez, what a jerk. So I kind of sit there waiting a little longer. I'm like, I thought you said you're going to show me one of your cards. And he's like, yeah, here. He just keeps going like this, all proud of his little sleight of hand trick. So whatever, a little moment more passed, and then I folded my hand tilted. Then he quickly flips over the queen of diamonds. Which means, you know, assuming if I have kings or aces, like if he has a queen of diamonds, the only way he could beat me would be if his other card was like a 10 of diamonds, which I'm assuming it obviously is. Flips over the queen of diamonds and goes to muck the other card. As he goes to muck the other card, I quickly grab it and flip it over, and it's the 10 of diamonds, just like I thought it was. I say to him, my sleight of hand. He looked completely shocked. His like jaw dropped. Like there was no part of him that thought this could happen in the hand. I mean, obviously you're not allowed to flip into your opponent's cards. And as he was doing his whole sleight of hand trick, I think there was no moment where it occurred to him his hand was going to get shown. And also when he bets the 200 and does that, it's almost like a free roll for him, because either I have to fold and I'm going to be pissed that I lost the hand and I won't get to know what he had, or I'm going to call and he's going to get to flip his hand and he's going to get to win $200 more. So when he bets that 200 river, it's kind of like a win-win for him, right? Like I said, either I fold and I'm going to be pissed, and I won't know what he had, and maybe he can kind of pretend like he bluffed me, or I'm going to call and I'm going to see if he pay off that $200 and he's going to be pretty pissed, right? So anyway, like I said, I flipped that 10 of diamonds. He was completely shocked. The dealer was like, oh, Sean, no. And then I was like, oh, I thought he said he was going to show me both of his cards. And so she calls over the floor saying that this guy just flipped the other guy's cards. I remember in another game once I saw someone flip someone's hand and they got like a 1-round penalty. So in the back of my mind, you know, as I flipped it was a quick reaction, but as I flipped it, I remember thinking back in my mind, whatever, I can handle a 1-round penalty. Well, it's not terrible, right? Worst case scenario, maybe a 1-hour penalty, but I figured it was gonna be either a 1-round or 2-round penalty. So anyways, the table was pretty pissed. I guess the people pissed me. There was actually one guy I remember at the table who was like a guy I knew from when I was young. Well, I didn't know him, but we had talked on Facebook a long time ago. He was like a friend of my brother's. It was in my brother's class. And it was the kind of thing like we had talked on only Facebook, and like we were both at that table, and like I guess I knew it was him and he knew it was me, but we both pretended like we didn't know each other, right? And he was a pro, I think at the time he was a pro, and he spoke up and was saying how what I did was really wrong and blah blah blah. And I didn't say anything because I know, I mean, he was right, you know, I mean, look, he's right, I was wrong. And it was just funny in that situation that that guy spoke up, you know, considering he was like the other pro at the table, and we both technically knew each other but pretended not to because we had chatted on Facebook before. So anyways, it was bad, I guess. Nothing really happened in that moment, though. You know, the deal, I guess they were like, went to the cameras or something. Anyways, I got up to go to the washroom, and as I was going back towards the table, the pit boss came up to me again, and he said to me, Sean, you have to go home. I'm like, why? Like, all I did was flip his hand. I can't just get like a 1-round penalty. He's like, look, yesterday you're throwing cards at dealers. Today you're flipping people's hands. Why don't you go home for 24 hours? And you know, at this point it's 11 p.m. and I said to him, well, when you say 24 hours, does that mean like I have to go home and like come back tomorrow? And I can like come back tomorrow, or is it like completely 24 hours? Like, no, 24 hours. You gotta go home. I was like, oh, all right. So I cash on my chips. You know, I was up at this point, I guess I'm up only 1,000 because I lost 100 on that hand. Kind of frustrated though because it was a good game. I didn't want to have to leave. I got home. I saw my wife. She was like, you know, how's poker? It's funny too because at the beginning of the week, I told her, you know, I'm gonna go casino Saturday. You know, said I'm gonna go to the casino Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday I'm gonna go to the Kanawaki Poker Club. She's like, how's the game? I was like, oh, it's all right. And I said to her, you know what, baby? Tomorrow I'm gonna go to the Kanawaki Poker Club, and then Sunday I'll go to the Kanawaki Poker Club instead. She was like, okay.